Welcome to the Midday News on 3FM. My name is Beatrice. The news is also live on Kesme 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Government operations in limbo as at least 19 key functions cannot be performed by appointees as Parliament refuses to give them legal backing anytime soon. Also, academic activities at pre-tertiary schools across the country at a standstill as teachers defy calls by Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to call off strike. And much later, more than 20 communities in Eastern region, including capital Koforidua, without power as ECG blames power transmitter and Gridco for the outage. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, government work is expected to suffer in terms of operating legally as key officials tasked to lead various sectors will not obtain the legal mandate to function anytime soon. It comes in the wake of the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, announcing that the House will no longer consider and approve recent ministerial nominees unless a case filed at the Supreme Court is determined. This is a direct reply to the presidency after it indicated that the anti-gay bill will not be signed into law unless pending cases at the Supreme Court are dealt with. We have a comprehensive coverage of this unfolding story for you today, and we start off first by looking at the constitutional provisions that are at the center of this unfolding battle. Let me bring you some legal details on this case. Article 78 of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana provides that Ministers of State shall be appointed by the President with the prior approval of Parliament from among members of Parliament or persons qualified to be elected as members. Article 80 also provides that a Minister of State or Deputy Minister shall not enter upon the duties of his office unless he has taken and subscribed the oath of allegiance, the oath of Minister of State and the Cabinet oath as the case may be set out in the second schedule in this Constitution. Now, in the Supreme Court case of J.H. Mensah versus Attorney General, the court stated as follows: a presidential nominee for ministerial appointment requires prior approval of Parliament before he can act or hold himself out as Minister or Deputy Minister of State. So this means that such appointed ministers cannot act or hold themselves out unless they obtain the necessary parliamentary approval. And this is where the discussion comes in. Komla Klucha is our parliamentary correspondent. He joins us live in the studio now. Komla, first take us through these positions that are expected to suffer because of the decision of the Speaker.
Well, I mean, essentially, this is a response, a very first one that the Speaker is giving, an official one the Speaker is giving to the letter that was sent from the presidency, signed by the President's Secretary, Executive Secretary, Nana Asante-Bedier to the clerk. And this is what the Speaker had to say in describing the behavior exhibited by the presidency in refusing to accept the transmission of this bill not only deviates from established democratic practices, but also undermines the spirit of cooperative governance and mutual respect for the arms of government. Essentially, what the Speaker is saying is that the action of the presidency vis-a-vis his Executive Secretary is contemptuous of the legislature, and if it comes to contempt, it is not an easy thing that the legislature or the judiciary takes with just kid gloves, for a want of a better word. But essentially, the question as to what are the key areas. As we speak now, we do not have a Minister of Health. We do not have a Minister of Information. And these are very key ones. We also do not have a Minister for Local Government as well. If, for instance, I mean, perished thought that there's an outbreak now, a major decision that has to be taken by the government must be spearheaded by the one in charge of it, who is the Minister of Health. As we speak, we do not have that. And even before that, it's been an issue that, for instance, the Minister of Health should be sworn in as early as anything so that he can go ahead and deal with it. We do not have that. Those are some of the ministries that have been affected by this. As to how long it's going to drag, we are unaware. But the critical aspect is the fact that these are key cabinet positions that has to be looked at, which the parliament, for want of a better word, is biting at the executive as we speak.
So, Komla, we'll go into those specific details of Alban Bagben's statement yesterday. He's actually put them in about 62 points, and there was a swift response from the majority caucus led by Apenyo Marking as well. But let me remind you, as you heard Komla talk about, you have about a total of 19 government appointees, number of ministerial positions affected, 8. You heard Komla talk about health. You heard him talk about information. There is also environment and science and technology and innovation, gender, children and social protection, another vital ministry as well. In terms of deputy ministerial positions affected, the total number is about 11.
Yeah.
Unaffected ministries which are subject of legal dispute, total number 6. Komla, I just mentioned that the pointers that the speaker put his statement in, as it were, and there were certain specific reference to articles of the Constitution as well as the provisions that guide parliamentary work. Are you able to take us through some of those specific articles he mentioned and acts to advance his argument in his response to the presidency?
Well, essentially, the speaker has been citing, for instance, on the issue of Article 106.7 of the Constitution. Now, the speaker says this action stepped in established parliamentary procedure signifies the final step in the legislative process, enabling the president to review and, if in agreement, assent to the bill, thereby enacting it into law in accordance with Article 106. Now, the speaker goes to talk about the framework. Now, that Article 106.7 says that where a bill is passed by Parliament is presented to the President for assent, he shall signify within 7 days after the presentation to the Speaker that he assents to the bill or that he refuses to assent to the bill unless the bill has been referred by the President to the Council of State under Article 90 of the Constitution. Now, Section 5 of the Interpretations Act 2009, Act 792, provides that as soon as the bill is passed by Parliament, the text of the bill as passed shall be sent to the clerk of Parliament, shall be sent by the clerk of Parliament to the government
printer.
Yes, who shall print 4 copies of the bill on vellum paper or on a paper enduring quality and send copies to the clerk. Now, if you read it, all it does is to talk about the process or the channel within which it has to go. Essentially, the speaker is saying that His Excellency the President has neglected all of this, only seeking haven in the fact that there's a lawsuit. He is not challenging the fact that there's a lawsuit. Yes, the rule of law must be established, but in as much as the rule of law is to be established, then they will also go by it, equally go by it. It's the more reason why in the suits being sought by the South Dai MP, Roxanne Dafiamekpo, on the issue of seeking an injunction on the ministers who are being approved now or who are yet to be approved. The speaker says it's been served an injunction. If the principle is the fact that there's a lawsuit and so we should hold on, fair deal, he will also not allow the process to go through. So it appears, for want of a better word, and with all the caution, it appears it's a tit for tat.
Exactly.
But it's in the interest of the law as explained by the Speaker.
Komla, I would want you to bring us also what the response has been from the Majority Leader, Alexander Apenyomarkin. He's also been defending, for the want of a better word as well, using your word, the statement or the letter that came from the Presidency to the Clerk of Parliament.
Very swift and sharp response that he says that the upshot is that Mr. Speaker torpedoed the government's work by depriving the president and Ghana of the able men and women who will assist him in running the government machinery. It is their humble belief that it is the Speaker who is undermining the democracy and not His Excellency the President. And these were the list of items as the majority who is the leader of government business has outlined. These are the items they were supposed to deal with according to them yesterday, that there were tax waivers that they needed to consider, laying of papers that has not been stated, war papers that has not been stated, consideration of bills, it's also not been stated which bills, outstanding IDA facility and approval of ministers. On the issue of the IDA, they said that this is a loan facility that the minority rejected, a 150 million that they rejected, and that they are not going to be a part of it. My understanding is that at conclave yesterday, when the Speaker walked in, he indicated to the leadership of the House that he was going to give a response to the Secretary, to the President, details of which they did not know. As usual of him, it takes his time. It's the reason why it's a 13-page document, well written by the Speaker, and he delivered it. But surprisingly, he did not allow the leadership of the House. Not that he didn't allow, but if you...
He just adjourned the House.
So when the Speaker was done reading, he said, God bless the country. And he paused for at least about 2-3 minutes. Ordinarily, leadership would have gone on their feet, specifically the majority leadership, to make a comment. I didn't see that happen yesterday. As to why they didn't stand up, I do not know. Maybe the Speaker got a sense that he had nothing to say, and so therefore he had to just adjourn the House. Synodian.
All right, thank you very much, Komla Kluche, bringing us a summary of what happened in Parliament, plus the responses as well. But the minority is not taking the majority's response lightly either. Isaac Adongo is a ranking member on Parliament's Finance Committee.
Is the majority leader saying that he's been sleeping on the job? Because some of these tax exemptions have been before Parliament for the last 2 years. And he, the one leading the government business, now he's telling us that he was aware of the implications and he didn't manage his team to consider those taxes for 2 years. 2 years. And the recess yesterday is the reason why the economy will collapse? Is that what he's saying? Look, there were 42 taxes they wanted us to take yesterday. Tax exemptions. And if you look at the time, 7 p.m., I told them we can't kill ourselves. How do we do a good job to scrutinize 42 tax exemptions, totally $331 million? If we had done that, we would have just changed the people of Ghana. And it would have meant that we have not considered the plight of Ghana. You and I are paying e-levy, are we not? You and I are paying bet taxes. As a matter of fact, we are now being blackmailed that when they become president, they will remove taxes. They know how important it is. In one breath, you are taxing us a lot of money, and in another breath, you are giving tax exemptions to people you prefer.
And you heard that Isaac Adongo, he's a minority ranking member on Parliament's Finance Committee. I'm joined by Michael Bodi. He's a governance expert with the Ghana Integrity Initiative. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to all your listeners.
First of all, as a governance expert, of course, with an anti-corruption body, let me get your take on this seeming stalemate between the legislature and the executive arm of government.
Well, I think that it is only a display of the tenets of our democracy, which says that there should be separation of power and checks and balances. So we're only seeing it at its best. I don't think that we must be extremely worried about it so long as they are all working within the confines of the law. interpretation of the law is in the bosom of the judiciary, where we think or suspect that they are stepping beyond their bounds. I think it is our collective responsibility to seek interpretation and then call them to order. But as far as I think, what they are doing is not outside the law. It is well within their remit. It is also the beauty of our democracy that at this we don't have the arms of government, in bed together, and therefore the citizens are being taken for a ride. I hope and believe that they are both working in the interest of the citizens. But what has brought this stalemate? It is one, the fact that the presidency is saying that a bill that has been passed should not be transmitted to it because there is a court case. I think it's true, and I think that is the right thing to do. The judiciary or the legislature says that they would not pass the ministers they've vetted because there is also a court case, which is also true and which is also right. I think that if we are all going to uphold and truly uphold the tenets of our constitution and work within the confines of our law, it is good.
So
now, the question that we must, as ordinary people, the question we must ask is that how does this endure our development? How does it affect us? And I think that for a long time we've had legislature that does the bidding of the executive for a long time. For once, we are beginning to see the legislature expressing itself and exerting its authority. So let us watch and see as a people and not unnecessarily get excited.
watch and see, you say. In your earlier submission, you also said that this is not something we should be worried about. But the argument of especially the executive is that this could affect eventually the economy. And I mean, first of all, the business of government in the House and the economy. You're looking at functions that are not going to be approved and therefore cannot go ahead to work legally.
Well, the approval, as I am reading now, is based on the ministers, the number of ministers. I think that you and I and every Ghanaian have talked about the fact that the size of government is too big.
Mr. Body, sorry to butt in here. I think we've moved on from the argument of the size of government. We are looking at this current action and the potential or the potentiality of it affecting the current situation where we are in, where you need people to represent certain offices or perform certain functions.
I'm afraid, my sister, we haven't moved away from the size of government. We are still talking about the size of government. And if this action reduces expenditure on the size of government, I think we should applaud it. Everybody is concerned about the fact that the government continues to increase the size, its budget on personnel. And therefore, for me, I think that the legislature is working within the confines of the law. The executive is working within the confines of the law. But I want to find out what implication that is to me. And the implication to the entirety of the nation is that at least for a period where there is a stalemate, savings is being made to the country by way of expenditure that would have gone into the servicing of these personnel that would have been approved.
Mr. Bodi, just very briefly, I said we've moved on from that argument because in this specific instance, the members of parliament are not saying that we are not approving them because we think that the size of government is large. They went ahead and vetted them anyway. They are talking about a letter supposedly revoking the appointment and then they being reassigned and therefore somebody going to court and saying that is not constitutionally correct.
Madam, we haven't moved again. I'm saying that as we speak now, everybody is working within the confines of the law. The question you and I should be asking is that how does that impact on our well-being and the development of our country? And I'm saying that this impacts positively in so many ways. If you look at it, at least we are not fighting and exchanging blows to settle. We are going through this process lawfully, which is beautiful. Then the next thing is that we must ask that if the legislature is mindful of the people they are representing, then how is their action saving us money, saving us resources, the much needed resources for which people had to undergo haircuts, for which people had to tighten their belts. I'm saying that however we look at it, I believe that a signal is being sent to the globe and also being sent to the executive that Parliament is asserting themselves, the executive is being lawful, but the citizens are saying that insofar as this processes will save us resources, insofar as we could speak, our people, our elected representatives are speaking the language that the citizens are speaking about the fact that we said government is overbloated and that they should not, if possible, they shouldn't even pass additional ministers at all.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much, Michael Bodi, governance expert at the Ghana Integrity Initiative. You're still here on the Midday News on 3FM. My name is Beatrice. When we come back, we'll bring you what's happening on our academic front. Don't go away.
Freezer, yeah, diaba. Adama for diaba. A freezer. Adama. A question. Adama. Metimoswa. Ma sorry. Canino. Obo Moasia. I do for no be a munum and san last 9. I tell what we did. Adama for Adama who said, yeah, the Adruba Cope, a ship we be a high technology. I go for freezer. When Kwan. And once open your 15 letters. No fugum, what ya no fugum. What the bus here? If we be any of us, you, equal to say, over Timono. Then we sure say, women show task here. Then what's enough for now? Freezer, when up a day. Freezer, Basia, a person does so among. I'm winning. Me what's it? Me, but you may not do some doom. Adama, with that Adama, no queer. Adama, you can't resist.
Ubenya Adama West Africa for a dream, or baby bear a tongue cry on way you. I say, Kayone Kinkai in Choya, a dream.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for the first Edinkra International Arts and Crafts Show in Ghana. Organized by the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA, this 10-day festival will be a celebration of functional arts and crafts, home decorations, jewelry and textiles, with export forums on the sidelines. Date 26th April to 5th May 2024. Venue, Papaye Recreational Center, Ebury. Time, 10 a.m. each day. Get ready to immerse yourself in a world of creativity and culture, surrounded by the breathtaking beauty of Ebury.
To register as an exhibitor, kindly visit gepafairs.org or call +233 24 470 6112 or +233 20 955 6525. Edinkra International Arts and Crafts Show. See you there.
FM 92.7.
You're still here on the Midday News on 3FM. My name is Beatrice. Thank you for staying. Now, this afternoon, public classrooms have been abandoned by teachers as the strike by 3 pre-tertiary teacher unions, the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, and the Coalition of Concerned Teachers, takes full force today. During a news conference in Accra yesterday, the teachers noted that their decision to strike follows the government's failure to address their conditions of service, among other issues. The Ghana Education Service, in response, has directed heads of public kindergarten and primary schools, as well as junior and senior high schools, to mobilize their management teams to ensure the safety and well-being of all students in schools. The Ghana Education Service, in a statement, directed the regional and district directors to also ensure that heads keep schools open and closely supervise all children who report to school, pending further directives from management of the GES. We'll be getting an update from across the country on the impact of the strike. But before that, listen to Thomas Musa Tanko, the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, one of the pre-tertiary teacher unions whose members are on strike.
There is no commitment. anytime you go, you don't see that people, I mean, the government side, they even have mandate to negotiate. There is nothing showing us. And we are not going to school until our demands are met. We will stand by it, and we call upon our members to stand with us in this particular struggle.
Well, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, reacting to the strike, described the action as being in bad faith. Benjamin Arthur is the executive secretary of the commission.
We believe that this action is in bad faith, and we are calling on the leadership of the pre-tertiary teacher unions to call off the strike and let us continue to engage. After all, what is the essence of a strike? It's to draw the attention of some maybe grievances so that interventions can be introduced. But in this case, we've even signed rules of engagement as to how we should continue to engage. So if you have any grievances, we have National Labour Commission there to petition. Why not that approach? What is the motivation for ambushing all of us by declaring a strike?
And you heard that the Chief Executive Officer of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Ben Arthur. Kashto Senyala is a man in the Upper East region. He joins us live on the line. Kashto, which schools have you visited and what has been the impact?
Yes, Beatrice, I've visited a number of schools, including second cycle institutions in the regional capital and parts of the region. And I can report that there is no teaching going on. In fact, in some schools, the authorities management has had to close down the schools and ask people to go back to their homes. I'm getting the impression that there are also teachers are laying down their tools in solidarity with their colleagues nationwide, and until a directive comes from Accra or from the nation's capital that they should pick up their tools, they will not go into the classrooms.
Kashto, did I hear you say that the authorities were asking the children to go home? Because the directive we had earlier was that the GES was asking them to keep the children safe.
Yes, in some schools, for instance, at the Sumbrongo primary school in the Bogasanga municipality, for instance, so management of the school asked people to vacate the school premises, while teachers also went about other duties. But then the headmaster of the school was at the school, and when I contacted him, he told me that they had no choice but close the children because they weren't doing anything, and the heat of the sun was becoming high, and it was important that they let these children go back to their homes.
Thank you very much, Kashto Senyala, our Upper East Regional correspondent, bringing us updates there. We'll bring you that story from the Eastern region, where we understand that some communities are without light, and the ECG is putting the blame squarely on Gridco as well as some transformers. But that's how we end the news here on 3FM. A top story, government operations in limbo as at least 19 key functions cannot be performed by appointees as Parliament refuses to give them legal backing anytime soon. We also brought you that story about academic activities at pre-tertiary schools across the country at a standstill as teachers defy calls by the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to call off strike. We'll bring you more on that story about communities in Eastern region not having light in our subsequent bulletins. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Coming up next is Business Daily.
3FM 92.7, Urban Lifestyle Radio Station. 3FM 92.7. Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
Freezer, get the abba. Adama for the abba. A freezer. Adama, a craftsmanship. Adama. Metimosua, my sorry. Canino, over Moasia. I do for no be a munum and san last night. I tell what we did was here. Adama for the craft from what we say. Yet the Adruba Cope, a ship we be a high technology. I could for freezer. When Kwan, and once open your 15 letters. No fugum, what ya no fugum. What the bus here, for your being over what you have got to say, over Timono. Then we sure say, woman sure task here. Then what's enough for now? Freezer, when up a day. Freezer, Dacia, a basson do so among Ammoniaji. Omtina me, Miwasika, Omtina me, but you may not do some doom. Adama, without Adama, no queer. Adama, you can't resist.
Ubenya Adama West Africa for a dream, or baby bear a tongue cry who made you. I say, Kayone Kinkai in Choya, a dream.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for the first Edinkra International Arts and Crafts Show in Ghana. Organized by the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA, this 10-day festival will be a celebration of functional arts and crafts, home decorations, jewelry and textiles, with export forums on the sidelines. Date, 26th April to 5th May 2024. Venue, Papaye Recreational Center, Ebury. Time, 10 a.m. each day. Get ready to immerse yourself in a world of creativity and culture, surrounded by the breathtaking beauty of Ebury.
To register as an exhibitor, kindly visit gepafairs.org or call +233 24 470 6112 or +233 20 955 6525. Edinkra International Arts and Crafts Show. See you there.
3FM 92.7. Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, Professor of Finance Godfred Bobkin calls for needed training on the African Continental Free Trade Area for SMEs outside Accra.
We should equally be interested in how we can enable the private sector, because after it's about moving goods and services across the borders. And once we are not doing that, we are not optimizing our participation from the AFCFTA.
Also, Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry expects 200 basis points reduction in the policy rate next week.
There's all reason for the policy rate to go down. As to the number of basis points, I believe that about 200 basis points will not be too bad.
Plus, ECG faces regulator deadline for report on operations amid service delivery concerns. Well, I'm Michael Obedia. I bring you details of our top stories and more shortly. Please stay with us. Well, thank you for staying. Straight into our top story. Economist and Professor of Finance at the University of Ghana Business School, Godfred Bobkin, is calling for tailor-made workshops for small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, operating outside Accra to enhance their knowledge on the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. A survey on the awareness of the trade agreement among Ghanaian SMEs indicated majority of SMEs operating outside Accra have little to no knowledge of AFTA. He believes until the businesses in Ghana are abreast with what the agreement is about, they cannot benefit from the numerous opportunities it presents.
Ghana is losing out in terms of the digital trade, digital commerce, and the rest of them compared to other countries. Our businesses are doing their best, but they need a lot of external support from government, from other regulatory institutions, and including the associations. We can't afford to lose out of this. And then again, the other thing you also see is that under the Guided Trade Initiative, almost all the other countries that are participating, everybody is focusing on Ghana. of how they can move their goods quickly to Ghana, and the rest of them, which should equally be interested in how we can enable the private sector, because after it's about moving goods and services across the borders. And once we are not doing that, we are not optimizing our participation from the AFCFTA. The other bit that we also need to do is that apart from the urban and peri-urban areas who are fairly aware of the AFCFTA and the protocols, when you go further out of Accra and Kumasi and the rest of them, the knowledge level is very low. And you can't take advantage of what you are not aware of and the rest of them. So there's the need for regional level workshop, tailor-made, and probably in a language that also they can connect with.
So that was economist and professor of finance at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Godfred Bobkin, speaking there. Meanwhile, Greater Accra chairman of the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, Chonam Akpelu, is calling on the government to help build the capacity of Ghanaian SMEs to take full advantage of the trade agreement. He argues businesses must be resourced adequately to trade outside the country's borders.
When the AFTA was launched, you realize that the companies that take advantage of the AFTA initiative are companies that are ready. Ready in terms of they have the products, they have the capacity to export. So the fact that you're in Ghana, you have the headquarters, does not mean that you'll be able to trade. You need to have the capacity. Exporting is not merely like just selling within Accra. Exporting requires certificate of origin. It will require that you have the standard that the country you're exporting to expect you to have. It requires that you figure issues around payment and also logistics. All of this require a lot of money and time to sort out. So it will take time for most of our SMEs to get to that level where they are ready to export.
So that was the voice of Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, Chonam Akpelu, speaking there. Now, President of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Clement Osei-Amoako, is calling for about 200 basis points reduction in the policy rate, citing the downward inflation trend as the reason. This comes as the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana continues its annual meeting towards deciding on the next policy rate and deliberating on economic issues.
We are saying that the interest rate must come down to make the cost of funds very cheap, and so that we'll be able to borrow. But here's a situation that the government finds itself very difficult and have to borrow from the central bank by using the open market operation. We know the situation the government finds himself. But even if incentives are given in some of the key areas to support the private sector, we'll manage it. But to go and compete with him in the same interest rate, there's no way we can create jobs. We can't create value. We can't employ. I expect that once inflation has dropped down, exchange rate is going up, but we have inflation going down, policy rate also going down. There's all reason for the policy rate to go down. As to the number of basis points, I believe that about 200 basis points will not be too bad. But for now, we want to see interest rates going down gradually to support the private sector.
You heard the president of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Clement Osei-Amoako, speaking. Energy strategist at Eureka Energy Solutions, Dr. Yusuf Sulemana, is urging management of the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, to, as a matter of urgency, comply with the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC's requirement to present a comprehensive report of its operations in relation to tariff revenue allocation, regulatory audits data, and operational matters, among others, by close of day April 2, 2024. In a statement by the Commission, it explained that the order, which was issued under Section 3 and 24 of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission Act 1997, Act 538, was as a result of some major observations it had made concerning a general decline in the quality of service delivery, including increasing power outages across ECG service areas from January 1, 2024 to date.
I've always called for them to work on their metering system that will complement the efforts that they are putting. And I've commended them, and I've particularly commended the MD for taking some of the government-related institutions to task and asking them to pay, which is always the way to go, and the approach always the way to go. But to have this kind of revelations coming that this basic requirement is not complied to, I think is quite disturbing. So I will urge ECG to, as a matter of urgency, give a lot of seriousness and credence to the requirements of PRC and provide these information that are required. And if they are not able to comply with some of them, they have to come out and give a cogent and explanations to PRC as to why they have not been able to comply with this basic requirement. Because for sure, if you allow the cash water flow mechanism not to work, then we'll have ourselves to blame.
So that was energy strategist at Eureka Energy Solutions, Dr. Yusuf Suleimana, bringing an end to Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more business stories, please check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe, and Black Rasta is on standby.